Hello guys and welcome to another Run JB's War Thunder Tips video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the British trajectory, the British tree, and we will see where their strengths are and where they are lacking a little bit. So you can use this as a guide to decide which planes you want to fly and whether you are interested in the British tree or not. So let's take a look at the research tree. The first thing you see when you look at the British tree is that it's pretty well fleshed out. It has very good fighters, has pretty decent bombers, and it has a totally broken broken fighter line. It also has very good options for the premium planes. It actually is very well distributed all around the levels. Has very good good low levels, very good mid levels, pretty strong medium high levels, and maybe it's a little bit lacking on jets. But we'll see that step by step. So let's start with the Hawker Fury line. The Fury is the reserve tree, has two planes, and a Nimrod, which also have two planes. They are very similar. They fly pretty much the same. They are not the best reserve planes, but they won't let you down either. They are pretty solid. Moving on, you have level 2, you have a Hurricane Mark 1. This is a pretty good, very good level 2 plane. For this level, it's pretty fast, turns pretty well, is very well armed. I mean, he has 4 light machine guns, and these are really powerful at convergence. You are going to have a lot of success in this plane. It's a very solid choice. Moving on, you have a Hurricane Mark II at level 3, which is mostly the same as the Mark II, Mark I, but with 12 machine guns, so the firepower is devastating at level 3. Also has the option to mount rockets if you want to do so, which is not the best option for historical battles. Actually depends. The Hurricane is a plane that allows you to go fighter if you are in a low level match, and it's very easy to know if you are or not, just looking by your own to your own team. If your teammates are all of very low levels, go as a fighter. If you start seeing that you have a Spitfire Mark IIs, maybe a Mark V, you are in a higher level, and maybe you might want to use this plane as a ground attacker with rockets and go for ground targets, because the Hurricane is a decent fighter or good fighter because of the firepower and speed at low levels, but from level 4 upwards it really lacks because it lacks climb rate and acceleration. It's a solid ground attack option for low levels if you ask me, but of course that means that you are deleting yourself as a fighter, and I wouldn't do that if you are in a low level game. If you are in a higher level game, you might want to use rockets and go for ground targets. Even with rockets, you still are a decent turn fighter. The problem is that the rockets, you are going to see it in a second, hold on. The rockets actually use rails. Don't use the bombs are useless. The rockets use rails, and the rails stay put after you launch the rockets, and those give you a lot of drag and will hurt your turning performance somewhat. So yes, it's up to you to decide if you want to use this as a fighter or as a ground attacker, but remember, only use it as a ground attacker if you see that you are in a high level game. Okay? Next in line is the Typhoon Mark 1A. This is at level 7. A jump of several levels, but there's no worry because in the middle you will have some here. The Typhoon Mark 1A is actually, I think, a very misunderstood plane. A lot of people think that the firepower is lacking. I used to think the same, but actually it's surprising how hard hitting this plane is. At convergence, you really chew up enemies. It's also an excellent boom and summer. The British players usually fly boom turn fights mostly, and the Typhoon is an accomplished turn fighter. It actually can turn very well. The thing is that it's a huge boom and summer. This is a very fast plane. Actually climbs really well for its level. Nowhere near BF-109 levels, but still is a solid climber. Has a good reserve of turning, but it's a great boom and summer. And using this plane as a boom and summer, you really can stand out and do amazing jobs. If you don't believe me, I'm going to link here a video where you will be able to see up to which point this plane is an incredible Woman Summer. Excellent plane. Excellent plane. This is one of the best level 7 planes in the game. Next in line is a very big jump, and you move to the Typhoon Mark 1B late, which is a faster, heavier armored version of the Typhoon Mark 1A. This is a very good plane. The problem with the Typhoons is that they lack roll rate, but this is a very solid choice. Again, it can turn fight, but it's better used as a boom and summer. Has very heavy firepower. It has 4 Hispano cannons. Those things rip enemies really quickly. It's very fast. It's very quick, especially at low altitudes. Solid, very solid choice. Very good plane. And finally, in this tree you have the Tempest Mark 5 at level 14. Currently this plane is not rolling as it should. It's not the best roller in the game, and it should roll better. But still, this is, in my opinion, the best Boom Summer up to level 16, where the TA-152, the German one, takes over. Really, there are very few things in this game that can dive with a Tempest, and almost none of them has a propeller. It's the dream Boom Summer, but still people don't like it because the Tempest doesn't turn as the Typhoon. And as I told you, a lot of people mistake the Typhoon as a turn fighter when it's not. This is a dream Boom Summer. This is a devastating plane. 4 Hispano Mark 5 cannons, just round up, which is a brutal fighter. Second line starts with the Gladiator Mark II at level 1. It's a very good biplane. Actually, I think it's overperforming quite a bit. It climbs really well. It's nowhere near the levels of brokenness of the Russian I-153, but still, I think it's overperforming. Solid choice. Very good plane. Very nice tier 1 plane. So yeah, solid plane. Next in line is the Spitfire Mark 1. As you can see, you overlap nicely. You 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lacks a level 9, but you can see that you're progressing. You are always going to have new planes as you level up. So this is one of the strong things of the British tree. You have a lot of planes distributed with the levels. Spitfire Mark 1, excellent fighter. I think too low a level for how good it is. Very fast, good climber, good accelerator, decent firepower, excellent fighter, very solid fighter. Moving on to the Spitfire Mark 2A. Actually, this is a little bit heavier than the Mark 1. The Mark 1 actually performs a little better than the Mark 2, but still solid option. Again, excellent turn fighter, decent climber, decent accelerator, excellent turning. So very good fighter. At level 6, we find the Spitfire Mark 2 Beam, which is your first cannon bird in the Spitfire tree. Shares the same traits as the Spitfire Mark 2A, but increases it with huge firepower. But the problem is that the firepower is not going to last a lot. So you want to watch your suits. You only have 60 rounds per cannon. Impressive hitting power, but lacking in ammunition count. So you really want to watch your ammo. After you have expended your cannon ammo, you still have very good firepower. Well, at least acceptable firepower with 4 light machine guns. Very solid choice, very good fighter. Next in line is the Spitfire Mark 5. You can see that it comes in 2 flavors: the Spitfire Mark 5B, the Spitfire Mark 5C. The 5B actually is underperforming in climb rate, but I still think that this is a very solid fighter. It's faster than the Mark II, turns a little bit worse. It's not as good in climb and acceleration, but still packs a wall up. I mean, those cannons really chew up enemies. It's underperforming because I think it should climb a little bit better and should accelerate a little bit better, but solid choice. It's a prolongation of the Spitfire Mark 2B, in fact. So yeah, I think this is a pretty solid fighter. At level 12, which is a huge jump, you find the Mark 5C. The problem is that it shares the same problem that the Mark 5B. It doesn't climb and accelerate as it should. It has monstrous firepower, but let's be honest, at level 12, 4 Hispano cannons, I'd rather wait for the level 13 Typhoon. I think it's way over tiered, and actually is underperforming as well. Not a good plane. Next in line is the Spitfire F Mark 9, level 10. It's a step away from turn fighters and a step into the energy fighter theme in British. It's still a very good turn fighter. It totally destroys Germans in turn fighting, but it's a much better accelerator and climber than the previous Spitfires. So you start looking into a plane that can energy fight very well. Also has the added benefit that it doubles your cannon ammunition. From 60 rounds per gun, you have 120 rounds per gun, and you still have the backup of the Browning light machine guns. Solid fighter, not spectacular, but really good and solid choice. Can turn fight, can energy fight. It simply can't boom and zoom because the Spitfire is not a good diver nor zoomer, but very solid plane, very all-round plane, nice one. Moving on is a Spitfire F Mark 16. This plane is a little bit misunderstood because up to this point you are used to turn fight. I mean, even the Mark 9, even while it's no longer the best thing you can do in Spitfire because energy fighting starts to take over, people try to turn fight in the Spitfire Mark 16, but the problem is that it has clipped wings. It doesn't turn anywhere close to the previous Spitfires, so people tend to think that this plane is worse. Actually, this is again a step ahead into the energy fighting theme. With the Mark 9s, you want to stop turn fighting and start energy fighting. And the Mark 16 is pretty decent at that. I mean, of course, the problem is that you are going versus BF-109s, which are better. But still, if you have energetic superiority, don't turn. Use energy fighting. And you will be golden with this plane because it dives better than the previous Spitfires and has much better roll rate because of the clipped wings. It's also faster than the Spitfire Mark 9, climbs better than the Spitfire Mark 9, all around a very decent level 11. Not the best one, but a very decent, and I think a hugely misunderstood one. I think the Spitfire Mark 16 is much better than what people think it is. Moving on, we have at level 13 the Spitfire LF Mark 9, which is a Merlin 66 variant of the Spitfire previous Spitfire Mark 9. This means that this plane actually is better under 5,000 meters. At higher altitudes, the Mark 9 is a little bit better, but still, they are up high. They are very good, both of them. At low altitudes, this thing is a monster. Up to 5,000, 5,500 meters, this thing climbs and accelerates and like a demon, especially once you unlocked the really feared 150 octane fuel. This thing, look at that. It gives you a plus 30 km per hour max speed and a huge plus 5 meters per second in climb rate. And acceleration, of course, goes up in the same degree. The thing is a level 13, but this is an excellent fighter. And again, goes on to the theme that you start with turn fighters and you are moving towards energy fighters. This is an excellent energy fighter in the same degree that a G10 is. The only thing is that you can't boom and zoom with it because it doesn't die very well. But this is a hell of a plane. Heck of a plane. The next step is just moving into the jet area. And let's face it, British jets are not the best. Meteor F3 is a lackluster fighter. It's probably the worst jet fighter in the game. Maybe with the Soviet Yak 15, which is also pretty lackluster. It's not fast for a jet. Doesn't accelerate really well. Doesn't climb really well. It turns really well for a jet. I mean, this is probably the most maneuverable level 17 jet in the game, and also has a impressive firepower with those 4 Hispano 5 cannons. If you hit things with this thing, really you destroy them. But still, performance-wise, it's not the best. Same Meteor F3 is the same as an F3, but you can land in carriers. Other than that, pretty much the same plane. Meteor F4 late LW and Meteor F4 SW. Well, they are solid, very solid fighters. They improve a lot. The performance of the Meteor F3, and really they are competitive for the levels they are at. Of course, the problem is being competitive means doesn't mean being the best. Still solid choices. They are solid fighters. They are very decent fighters. Um, Much better performance than the Meteor F3 with the same maneuverability. So you are not going to outrun anything, you are not going to outclimb anything, but you are much closer to the enemy than with the F3. And also, they turn very well. They are very good turners. As you can see, I don't have them, but I have fought against them a lot of times, and I know more or less what to expect out of these planes. And finally, the Meteor F4, F8. I have to admit, I haven't seen many of these. It should be the same theme, improving performance without a hit in maneuverability. The problem is that at level 20 you are going against MiG-15s, and those things are much better than the Meteor. Much better. Not a good, not the best level 20. Still a solid fighter, but it's going to be outpowered. So you can see the theme here is a well fleshed out fighter line. It's very strong at low levels. It's kind of jack of all trades at mid levels, but still very strong. And at late game is not as good as the Americans or the Russians, but it's much better than the Japanese or the Germans, of course. So it's kind of strong early game, strong mid game, lackluster end game. So far, you can see that. Swordfish line, and here we start in the UFO mark. The Swordfish is a level 0, well, you are not going to expect a lot of this, and also it has a problem that it only can mount torpedoes, you can't mount bombs with it. Very lackluster. I mean, well, you can use this just for the laughs, but meh, yeah, nah. And now we begin in the UFO line. From here to here, UFOs all around. Blenheim, solid bomber, very fast for its level, pretty good bomb load, and it turns in a time. It has a totally broken flight model. Beaufort, faster than the Blenheim, better protected, turns exactly the same as the Blenheim. Another UFO. I mean, I have had games where a Beaufort was chasing me, out-turning me in a BF-109 and shooting me to bits with a single forward-facing light machine gun. It was retarded. It's broken. It's totally broken. Yeah, well, whatever. Still, as a bomber, very solid choice. It's fast. It's very fast for a bomber, and it should be fast, but it shouldn't turn the way it does. The problem is that these planes mostly share the same flight model as this brutal, broken piece of crap that the Broken Fighter Mark 6C is. This thing is insane. I'm not going to even bother commenting it. Don't, if you have a grain of self-respect, don't fly this thing. Broken Fighter Mark 10. It's still a Broken Fighter. It still climbs too good, turns too good, accelerates too good, but at least it's not at the broken levels as the Mark 6. Still a broken plane, and still, if you have a grain of self-respect, don't fly this. Broken Fighter Mark 21. Well, here things start to level up a little bit. Still, it's a UFO. Turns too well, climbs too well, accelerates too well, but at least it's not at the levels of the Broken Fighter Mark 10 and nowhere near the levels of the Mark 6. So still broken. And if you want to fly it for fun, do it, because it's not as broken as the previous ones. This actually you can fly without thinking and feeling you are a shitty guy. Also, it's at level 11, and in level 11 the other nations start having proper answers to these monsters. So less of a UFO, still a UFO, but one that is not broken to the point of feeling like a cheater if you fly one. So yeah. Mosquito, FB Mark 6. Back to a UFO theme. This thing actually can well, I'm not going to say what it can do. It's broken. Let's leave it at that. Nowhere close the levels of the Broken Fighter Mark 6, because this is staggeringly broken. I mean, this is probably the most single broken plane in the whole game. But still, this thing turns too good, climbs too good. People complain that, well, at level 12 you should have, maybe if this had a proper flight model, maybe you would expect it to be a lower tier, maybe level 10 or something like that. Right now at level 12 this is a monster. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, very good, broken. mosquito fire. I call these things the mosquito fires. So go figure. And finally, the vampire FB5. I have very limited experience with these things. I don't own it, and I rarely find it. For what I hear, is hugely underperforming, so a bad choice for a jet. Once it's fixed, it should be a solid level 18 choice, performing more or less like a meteor but being more maneuverable. Still, seems it's not the case right now. And so it's time to move on to the bomber line. In the bomber line, we have three different Wellingtons. Their differences are, well, basically the level 7 are very close to each other. They are very similar. The Mark III and the Mark X have better defensive weaponry, and the Mark X has better performance. They carry a lot of bombs, but they are not the toughest things around. They have a decent speed. They are not really fast, but they are not very slow either. Probably the worst part about these planes is that the defensive guns are not the best around. Still, they can bring enemy downs. Don't take me wrong, but they are not the best bombers in this game, to be honest. Still, they pack a lot of bombs. So if you fly your bomber well, you can really bring down a lot of enemy. AA guns, pillboxes, etc. with them. So yeah, they are actually decent bombers, but they are not the best. The Lancaster is an excellent bomber, but the problem is that it's level 15. Let's face it, this plane at this level is mid. At level 15 you are going to find a lot of enemies carrying 30mm guns and heavy firepower, and look at that, you simply don't have enough defensive firepower to properly defend yourself against enemies who come at high speed slashing attacks. They can do the job, but at level 15 really this is too high. This should be a level 11, level 12 at the most. Yeah, it's the reason why I don't have it. There's no sense in having this thing. Level 15 is too much. You are going to face jets, you are going to face enemy fighters with 30mm guns. This is a really too high level for this plane. It shouldn't be that high. So that's for the bomber line. And finally, the premiums. The premiums bring a lot of different stuff to the table. Foreign planes that are not British, and several different very nice choices. First is a Gladiator Premium one. It's the same as the Mark II, so nothing special about that. Then we have the WWII, which is a level 1 fighter bomber. This is a very slow plane, but kind of turns very well. The problem is that it doesn't climb or accelerate at all. So you can use its turn rate to defend yourself in a pinch, but you are not going to outfight anything. It's also very slow, so you can't outrun anything, but still it's a pretty fun plane to fly and has pretty interesting options. I mean, for a level 1, it carries pretty nice bombs and has forward weaponry, and the turret is not bad at all. So this is actually a pretty viable plane. The Havoc is broken. It has the same problems as the American A20. It's too fast, climbs too good, turns in a dime, broken. Boomerangs, they are very neat turn fighters, and they are, well, cannon birds at level 4. They kind of lack in speed, climb, and acceleration, but they compensate for that with 20mm Hispanos. So it's kind of a very interesting plane to fly and a very fun one at level 4. The problem is, of course, that it's a slow plane, but very easy, very nice to fly one. The Mark II and the Mark I are very similar for all practical purposes, so pick the one you want. They are both very nice to fly. They are very similar. They carry the same ammunition, which is a lot of ammunition for the machine guns, and only 60 rounds per gun in the 20mm. Still, very fun planes to fly. The D520 is a French fighter. It's actually very high of a tier. This should be a level 5, level 4. Level 5 should be better. Still, it's a fun plane to fly. It's not the best. It's not the worst either. It's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Has a 20mm, which is really powerful at this level, and a lot of machine gun ammo. It's a fun plane to fly, and one that you will, well, kind of like. The D521 I don't have. I have never seen this plane. I don't have a clue on how it performs. It should be a better climber and accelerator version of the previous one, but it's a gift plane, and you have to. I don't know exactly what you need to get this plane, but I haven't seen this in action ever, and I don't own it, so I don't really know. Hellcat is a solid fighter bomber, but the problem is that the plane shares the same problem as the American one. It's exactly the same plane. It's an F6F3, which can carry a lot of bombs and rockets, so it's a very good fighter bomber. But again, in historical battles, you don't want to carry that. It has flight model problems and issues. It doesn't perform as it should at slow speeds, and so right now it's really underperforming. Not really a viable option. Well, I mean, it's a viable plane to fly, but you don't want to use your money and golden eagles in this plane yet until it gets fixed. Typhoon Mark 1B is kind of the middle road between these two. It's faster than the Mark 1A, but slower than the Mark 1B late. But it has the weapons the 1A doesn't have. It has 4 20mm guns. Other than that, they are very similar. So it is, of course, an excellent fighter. This is one of the best fighters at level 10. Very, very good. And the Mustang Mark 1A is a pure boom and summer. I have a lot of fun with this plane, but you strictly have to fly it boom and zoom. Lacks acceleration, lacks clean rate, but in dives and zooms, there's very few things that a level 11 can compete with this thing. And to be honest, I don't think any of them is German. So it's an excellent, excellent, excellent fighter. But it's a very unforgiving one. If you fly this plane the wrong way, you are going to die very soon. It has 4 Hispano cannons with a very nice ammunition count. So it has the punch. It's an excellent boom and summer. It's great, simply great for this level. But again, it's very unforgiving. If you lose your energy in this plane, you are mostly dead. So then, yeah, that's it for this tree analysis. The British tree, as you can see, is a well fleshed out, very nice tree. Again, very, very good at low levels, very competent at mid levels, and a little bit lacking at high levels, but nowhere near the German or the Japanese trees in that sense. So it's a solid choice, and it's a very fun one. It's also very forgiving because most of these planes they are very good turners, so you don't really need to learn a lot about energy fighting and all that jazz, or boom and zoom, until you start hitting the highest planes, of course. So it's a solid choice, but one that requires very little adaptation, and yes, it's an easy tree to do well with. So all around, I would say this is a very solid choice for a starter nation, for instance. Of course, you won't learn as much as in a German or American trees, because those are mostly boom and zoomers and energy fighters, and those will teach you better. But if you want to do well, these things are very, very solid. So well, this is all for this trajectory, guys. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you had fun, and I hope you learned something. And well, I hope this helped in making you choose which is going to be your nation of choice. Last one remaining is the Japanese tree. We will move on to that one in the future. So in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you later.